What is up, everybody? Welcome to today's Unstoppable Live. I hope you missed me because I missed you guys. I took about 2 weeks off for the end of the year, and this is our first broadcast, and it's our first live of the year. So happy 2021. If you can see me, if you can hear me, a bunch of you are on our Zoom webinar, and a bunch of you are on our YouTube live page. Just hit me in the chat and hit me with a yes if you can see me and hear me. I'm so excited to kick off this year. So excited to get started. Okay, cool. Sounds like you can all hear me and see me. So we're gonna go get started on this. So today's topic is a little bit different. Now, as you know, I do 3 episodes a week on this YouTube channel now on building SaaS businesses. And we have incredible content prepared for you this year. But I figured that before we jump right into building businesses, what I wanted to focus on a little bit was on the founder mindset. Because I've learned in building companies and building businesses, 50% of the game is mindset and 50% of the game is business and execution and everything else. And oftentimes we ignore that. And through my own journey as a founder, I've learned the hard way on how you really need to manage for mindset, how you need to make sure that you get your own life right. Just like how we would create a strategy around our companies and businesses and careers, you also need to create a strategy around our personal lives. And as soon as I started to learn that, as soon as I did that, everything changed for me. So in today's episode and today's live, I'm so excited to be here with you guys. I'm going to be covering the 3 strategies I've used for nearly 10 years of my entrepreneurial journey to live a more proactive life. So I hope you guys are excited. I'm going to walk you through exactly what you need to do to adopt these 3 strategies so that you can get what you want out of life, essentially, whether it's for your business or it's for your career. But this is super important. If you run yourself effectively, if you have the right unstoppable strategy for yourself, then business becomes a lot easier. Your startup, whatever you're working on, becomes a lot easier. And I learned this the hard way. So I wanted to share that with you guys to kick off 2021, how to live more proactively, if you will. So I want to dig a little bit more into what that is. But for those of you that are new, this is the first video of mine that you're watching. If you're new to this community, welcome. I do a video like this 3 times a week on building, growing SaaS businesses, living an unstoppable life. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. Quick background on me. I've been in building SaaS businesses. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 15 years. It started with a co-founding company called HipCal. It was an online calendering software. We sold it to Plaxo. Then worked at Bridgewater, one of the largest hedge funds in the world. I started my own company, ToutApp. I was backed by Andreessen Horowitz, one of the best VC firms. We scaled that company. And then we sold ToutApp to a market leader called Marketo. They were backed by Vista, one of the best PE firms. I served at Marketo as SVP of strategy. We did a 2-year transformation on the company. And then we sold it to Adobe for $4.75 billion. And now I'm on a mission to help you become unstoppable in both your life and your business. And that's why I run this. I run this company called Unstoppable now. So it's been super rewarding. So I want to talk a little bit around why this thing around, like, why did I decide to kick off the first episode that we're talking about, that we're doing right now around living a proactive life? I want to talk a little bit around that. Like, why is that important? Does anyone know what I mean by proactive versus reactive? Here's the thing. If I go back to my own story, this is who I call Baby TK. And Baby TK has made appearances on this channel and on my webinars a whole bunch of times. This is the before. And while Baby TK is smiling right now, he's deeply unhappy. He was in the wrong relationship. He was in the wrong job. He's got a giant glass of alcohol in front of him. He is not healthy. Like, he's not happy. None of this is going really well. That's Baby TK, and that was 2010. That was when I decided enough is enough. I'm going to quit my job. Even though it was a great job, it was at a great place, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and start a company. So I finally took that plunge. And this is 2021. This is the after. This is not just TK with a beard, but this is TK after he's accomplished a few things. He's learned a few things. He's actually gone after his goals and accomplished a number of things. And the one thing that really made the difference in making that shift from Baby TK to, if you will, Unstoppable TK, was he learned how to live a more proactive life. You see, baby TK woke up every morning, he checked his phone, and he was trying to make sure like what was going on with the world. And he didn't take a proactive approach. He was just waiting for things to come at him, and he was just trying to dodge and do his best to keep up, to kind of move ahead. And he never did. And so he just was sad. But Unstoppable TK said, you know what, enough is enough. I need to find a way to actually be proactive about what I want. I need to be purposeful about what I want to be doing. I need to actually go after what I want to do. And I need to actually make that happen. He kind of decided to take control in a situation where it seemed like there was no control to be had. And I know so many of us feel that way. And so through those 10 years, because I chose to actually live a more proactive life, I was able to finally quit my finance job, even though it was the best hedge fund in the world. I just wasn't happy there. I was able to start my own company. I grew it. I raised funding from the best venture capitalists, and I sold it to a market leader. And on the right here are some highlight pictures from that journey. Plenty of ups and downs, lots of things I learned. But the biggest reason I was able to make that shift was because I decided to actually live a more proactive life. And the third thing was I learned how to excel at being a tech executive as one of the youngest senior vice presidents in that company's history. I was SVP of strategy. I was going all over the world doing a lot of different things. I was able to manage all that and do all that because I had that proactive mindset. And best of all, because I was able to do all that over the course of the 10 years, I was able to spend my time doing what I love here at Unstoppable. And that was super powerful. Like now I get to actually help you become unstoppable in both your life and your business. And it is like we had an incredible year in 2020. We have big plans for 2021. And I feel blessed every single day I get to do that. It's all because I made that change. I chose to be proactive in my life. Now here's the problem. As I was going into this, you might be saying, you know what, TK, that sounds great, but ... And that but always comes, and there's always a thing there. There were some problems that I faced when I was like, all right, how do I do this? How do I take this leap? How do I make this change? How do I start that company? How do I grow that company? How do I go through the ebbs and flows of building a startup? How do I actually do this crazy thing of quitting my job and going doubling? How do I go raise venture capital? Like, how do I go through all these inflection points? There were some problems that I had. It wasn't all perfect, right? Number one, as an entrepreneur and startup founder, my life was and still is chaotic. Things changed constantly. So reacting felt like the only way to survive. As I was going into this, I was like, how could you ever get proactive about these things? I literally don't know what's going to come tomorrow. Like it's crazy. It's unpredictable. It's moving so fast, right? How many of you feel that way? I know a lot of you are startup founders. Hit me with a yes if you feel that way, right? That's a real thing. The second thing I had was between running, like as I got into building the company and scaling the company, between running an early stage startup, family obligations, friends who I cared deeply for, myself, green team members that I hired, they were super young, super early, just like I was. We were all babies. It all felt overwhelming, right? I felt like I was entering Narnia every single day as I was going into the office, just putting out fires. So I'm like, how do I even get proactive in a case like this when everything is just coming at me? How do I even do this? And on top of that, people would say, you know, you should have goals. And I'm like, how can I write down goals? How can I have New Year's resolutions? Like it feels moot because I'm just fighting to survive. And that was literally a transition that I went through. And I was like, you know what? All of these things may be true, but if I don't find a way to solve for these things, then it won't matter. I won't survive anyway. The business will not succeed. I will not succeed. I will burn out. It'll all be not worth it. Like it won't, none of it will matter. And this is me like fairly early days of starting ToutApp. Like again, baby TK, not happy either. It wasn't like I quit my job and started my company. I felt great, right? It was a journey to get to that unstoppable spot. And so I dug in and I said, you know what? I'm a fixer, right? Like that's what I am. That's what a lot of us entrepreneurs are. We're fixers. So I was like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way to solve this. And so I started to read all these books on personal development. I started to consume all these videos. And granted, it was all over the place. Like people were saying all kinds of different things and it was hard to really follow this one thing. But I landed on these 3 strategies that worked for me. And I've adopted and embraced these 3 strategies over the last 10 years. And that's really what's helped me from just reacting to things to actually being proactive about things. And since then, I've written a book about it. We've created a web app around it. I run a coaching program now that I'll tell you in the end about if you want to really double click on all this stuff. But I want to share those 3 strategies with you because it has helped me immensely. And I promise you, if you implement these 3 strategies or some semblance of them, you're going to become unstoppable. That's just what happens. Now, you'll have to do the work. You'll have to focus. There's a little bit of grace and luck involved. But these 3 things have really made the difference for me. And that's why I want to share them with you. And they're slightly different than a lot of the business advice I typically give on this channel. In the earlier days, I gave a lot more about this mindset advice, but I thought it would be important to start off this year with this advice because I want to make sure your mindset is right as we get into the actual strategy of building SaaS businesses and growing companies. So strategy number 1 is to get to shift out of this reactive mode and to get into this proactive mode. I started to realize Sundays were important. Sundays and Mondays are super important. And don't just take my word for it. The research shows this. On a Sunday afternoon, the risk of getting a heart attack on a Monday morning after a Sunday afternoon is way higher. On a Sunday afternoon, people get the Sunday scaries, the Sunday jitters. And it's not your fault. It's not because you hate your job. You already quit your job. You're running your company. It's not because you hate your company. It's that transition into the work week that actually gets you all like jittered up on like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's real. Wall Street Journal wrote about it. Fast Company wrote about it. CBS wrote about it. MarketWatch wrote about it. And in fact, 80% of employees, according to a LinkedIn survey, claim to get the Sunday scaries. So Sundays is a point of vulnerability. And we've all been there, right? Like it's Sunday right now and we're like going into Monday and we're like, and especially now, it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What am I walking into? You just don't know. It has nothing to do with whether you love your job or not. On top of that, turns out the risk of a heart attack is 20% higher for young working people on a Monday morning. That's insane. So I started to feel that. And I was like, you know what? I'm most reactive on a Monday morning and I'm most anxious on a Sunday evening. So maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something to solve there. And so I started to do this thing called Unstoppable Sundays. And by the way, there's a whole website called sunday-scaries.com. This is real, right? It hits peak around 2 to 4 p.m. And if you're watching this recording, just so you know, we did this live version right around 1 p.m. on a Sunday for a reason, because this is when people are going to start feeling that angst, and it goes up and up and up as you go into the evening. And then Monday morning, you're just a mess. This is where it starts. I found that my way to actually get proactive was not to set big goals and resolutions. That all that comes later. It was just to get each week under control. Get that Sunday under control. And so what I learned was if I could just own my Sunday afternoons or Monday mornings, either one, if I just established a 30-minute planning practice, then little by little, my mindset would shift to a more proactive mindset. I didn't try to solve for the whole year. I didn't try to create this like crazy 5-year vision. All I said was like, let me just get this next 7 days under control. What's important to me? What am I feeling? Where am I right now? What do I do next? What do I prioritize? What does my calendar look like? And little by little, I started practicing this. I have practiced this nearly over the last 10 years. Little by little, I started to take ownership of each week. You want to know what happened? Little by little, as I went into every Monday, I started going in with a plan. And because I had a plan, I had something to tether myself to, I started to actually make better decisions. And because I did that, as I went through the week, I knew that I would be checking in again on Sunday on my goals. I would actually force myself to make sure I focused on the things that mattered. And little by little, I started to actually shift into a much more proactive mindset. Are you guys getting this? Isn't this awesome? So it's not overly complicated, right? It's just a simple thing I started doing either on a Sunday afternoon or a Monday morning. And sometimes I switch it up. And that allowed me to actually shift just a little bit. And as I did it more and more, it started to compound. It all started to come together nicely. And what the difference is, if you're wondering, well, what does this proactive mindset look like? It's kind of like when Neo figures out he doesn't need to dodge the bullets. He can just lift his hand and say, stop. And then he can look, and then he can pick out the bullet that he really needs to focus on and go after it. And that's what a proactive mindset got me. And can you imagine what that does for you as you go through the week? And this isn't something crazy. All you need to do is just spend 30 minutes pausing and reflecting on where you are and plan out your week. Just that. That alone can make a massive difference as you go into the week. So that's strategy number 1. Does that make sense? Are you guys getting this? Can you guys start to see how this, give me with a yes in the chat if you guys are with me and you want strategy number 2. Who wants strategy number 2? Make sure YouTube is looking good. Okay, I'm getting a bunch of yeses. Okay, cool, awesome. You guys are great. All right, let us go into, okay, so I'm gonna now switch to strategy number 2. So here's the thing. As I started to do these Unstoppable Sundays, little by little, I started to shift my mindset. And I just started operating my weeks in a better way because I was tethered to a plan. And there's a very specific way I do this. I coach this inside of the program. We built an app around it. There's a lot there, but that's a detail that we don't have to go into right now. As I started to get a little bit more proactive, I started to realize, you know, I'm doing a lot of things. And my life would be 10 times better. My business would be 10 times better if I just focused on one of my goals for a little bit. Because what ends up happening is as you go in every week, you're starting to realize, well, I got to do a little bit of this and 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 a little bit of this. But I'm not moving anything forward massively. And sometimes you just got to be able to focus and move something forward massively. And that way you can really get ahead on the year, right? So that's when I started to do this strategy number 2. Strategy number 2 is I started to do these things called 45-day beast mode challenges. Here's the thing. So here's a 2x2. Let me explain where most people are, likely you and me, before I start doing these. Most of us are in this zone. This is where it says you now, okay? Most of us go about our weeks and our days and our months, spreading our time across personal and business stuff. We're trying to just keep up with everything. And when you don't plan your week, you're just even worse at it. When you start planning your week and start practicing Unstoppable Sundays, gets a little bit better, but you're trying to get all your tasks done and you're starting to spread it across personal and business. And when you're doing that, essentially what happens is the urgent barely gets done. The stuff that's urgent that you must do right now, you barely get those done, spreading your time across personal and business, and you're all over the place. So really you're kind of like the worst place to be, which is neither here nor there. And that's how we operate a lot of the times, right? We're neither here nor there. This is why, and if you've had a year where you're like, I don't really know what I got done. Or if you had a week, I'm like, I don't know where the time went. Or, you know, half the year's over and you're like, what is going on? I'm so behind. It's because you're showing up every day. It's not because of the lack of hours. It's because of the lack of focus, right? You're spreading your time across multiple things. Urgent's barely getting done. And then you're off at happy hour and then you just don't remember. Now, that's when I started to realize if I'm going to really move forward on certain areas of my life, like let's just say we need to get to $1 million ARR, I need to really double down on one thing. And so I started doing these 45-day challenges. And what a 45-day challenge is not that you just work harder. What you do is you figure out what is one big goal you want to go after over the next 45 days. And instead of spreading your time across personal and business and spreading your time across all the tasks, you say, you know what, I'm going to go into beast mode. And beast mode means you have deep focus on accelerating one area. And beast mode also means you're going to focus on the tasks that drive the most leverage and impact. You're going to train yourself around this. And when you go into beast mode for 45 days, you purposefully say, I'm going to kind of deprioritize these things. I'm going to prioritize this one thing. I'm going to go into deep focus. I'm going to move this ahead, and then I'm going to come out. And that way I can really move forward on one goal while the others kind of stay in autopilot. But that's still better than being neither here nor there. Are you guys getting this? Isn't this awesome? I've done countless 45-day challenges. I've done 45-day challenges to go into Dreamforce, which was one of the biggest conferences for it. And we had an incredible Dreamforce with 2 booths, 6 people, came away with a term sheet for a Series A and came away with an offer to buy for someone to buy the company. It was incredible. That was coming out of a 45-day. We've done 45-day challenge on big product releases or on big sales sprints to solve certain problems. We've done 45-day challenges. I've done 45-day challenges for my health. You can do it for anything. But here's one more reason to do it, right? Not only do you move forward, when you come out of a 45-day beast mode, and there's a very specific way to do this, you actually don't go back to just being all over the place, because you've trained your mind to prioritize what's important and to constantly triage what's important and to focus. And you're just pausing and reflecting every week because of Unstoppable Sundays, because they all compound on each other. All of a sudden, after you come out of a beast mode, you don't just go back here, you're over here, where you're starting to say, you know what? I'm going to start focusing on all the things, but I'm going to focus on tasks that drive the most leverage and impact. not just the urgent stuff. What's important versus just urgent? How do I prioritize and triage this? When you come out of a 45-day beast mode, you get into a heightened state and you've actually got more momentum behind you because you focus on one goal and it feels good. Then you actually, after that, you actually are operating at a heightened state, a more proactive state. So this is the power of doing 45-day beast mode challenges. And that's strategy number 2. Now, some people ask me, this is a great question. I saw it in the comments just now. Thank you, Chris. He's like, why 45 days? Why not 90 days? Why not 2 weeks or whatever? Why 45 days? Here's my very specific reason. We are all procrastinators. So if you take a 90-day goal, you're going to procrastinate the first 2 weeks. All right. So what that means is you're going to kind of play it slow. And as you get closer to the 45-day period, you're going to start moving faster. And that's a waste of time. If you do 2 weeks, let's just say you do a shorter sprint. Let's just say it's a 4-week sprint, right? A 4-week sprint, what you're going to end up doing in a 30-day period, you're going to pick smaller goals and they're not going to be meaningful enough. 45 days is just enough time for you to choose a medium to large size goal and really put a dent and feel that fire and not procrastinate. That's why I choose 45 days every single time. And inside of my coaching program, we teach you how to do these in a much more specific way. Are you guys getting this? Hit me with a yes if you understand strategy number 3, and then we're going to move into the next strategy. If you guys have questions, feel free to put it in the chat and I'll make sure I get to those as well. So that's strategy number 2. Strategy number 1 is you do the Unstoppable Sundays, just plan your week. Strategy number 2 is as you start to get better and better at that, do a 45-day challenge. Super simple. All right. Now, strategy number 3. Now, these all compound on each other. That's the power of this. You start with Sundays, super easy. And there's a very specific way to do them. Then you start doing these 45-day challenges. You do these 45-day challenges and you start to get even more proactive. Guess what? By the time you've done strategy 1 and 2, you're going to be a different human. You have gone into every week with a much more purpose, much more gratitude. You paused and reflected. You've focused on one of your goals that you just inherently know about, and you literally crushed it. And on top of that, you have come out of a 45-day challenge, and now you're at a heightened state, so you're executing in a much more effective way. It's super powerful. Now, all of a sudden, you're not reacting anymore. You're literally like Neo, where you're like looking at the bullets and you're saying, okay, what's working, what's not, what do I tweak, right? This is now what you've done is you've started to realize, all those excuses that I made for myself when I was like, man, it's just too crazy. Things are changing too much. I have no control. I'll never get there. What you start to realize very quickly is that, you know what? I actually have a lot more control than I realized. I have a lot more control into the week I'm going into. I have a lot more control into what I want to be doing. All these things start to come together really easily. And then all of a sudden you have space. You have space to say, all right, I seem to be getting better at this founder thing and this CEO thing and this entrepreneur thing and this career thing. Like, how do I take it to the next level? Or maybe I want to do a couple of more 45-day challenges. I do like 4 a year usually. Maybe I want to go after some bigger goals. Maybe I want to get a little bit more organized. All of a sudden, you're more fit. It's like, when you go to the gym and at first you're just like a mess, but once you've been doing it for a few months, you're like, all right, like you get a little bit of swagger, right? You're like, all right, let's do this. Like, I think I can do more. And you start picking up bigger weights and you start doing more. And you start getting better and much more fit and have more energy. That's what happens when you do strategy 1 and strategy 2. That's when you get into strategy number 3. Strategy number 3 is about setting 365-day goals. Now, mind you, this is very different than what most people do, which is they set a goal, and then they forget about them. Otherwise, they're known as New Year's resolutions. Here's the thing. 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February. That's it. By February, they're gone. People forget about them. They get disillusioned. They get burnt out. They forget. They give up. They move on. It's not their fault. It's because it's a flawed concept. A lot of people don't even write their goals down. They don't write their goals down, and so they forget them. It's not their fault. We have faulty memories. There are other things. I have the same thing. On top of that, burnout is on the rise, right? Because you don't really accomplish your goals, you get demotivated, you don't push as hard, you don't see the momentum, and you give up a lot earlier in the year. And that's worse too. 44% of employees report burning out. On top of that, as you start to keep reacting and you get out of that proactive zone, you can lose up to 6 hours on Netflix without even realizing it. On average, people watch 6 hours of Netflix and you can just get lost. It's probably even worse now, right? So As you start to get better at this, the third strategy I learned was to really write down my 365-day goals. And I don't start with this because I'm like, you know what? You may not be in a headspace to do this. Maybe you are. Maybe you're like, hey, I had a great year. I want to double down. I want to have high performance. Then I say, cool, create the 365-day goals. If you're not quite there yet, I always say start with the weekly planning, then do a 45-day challenge. And then when you're in that heightened state, then create your 365-day goals. It's up to you. You'll know best how to do it. Now, here's the thing. Don't just set goals, put context around them. So I have a whole template on how to create goals inside of our program. I don't just write down a goal. I try to have 5 goals: health, wealth, career, giving back, self-improvement. All of those are important. So I try to split those up. I also don't just write them down and forget them. I always review my goals over and over. So when I do my Sunday planning, every month, for example, I'll review my goals. I'll see how I'm doing. And I'll course correct, right? I'll tether myself to them and I'm like, you know what? If something changes, I'll just course correct. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. What's more important is I stay tethered to it. And I also put context around, well, how am I going to feel when I accomplish this goal? What happens if I don't accomplish this goal? And lastly, I always identify bottlenecks around goals. If I want to go, one of my goals this year is to be 170 pounds and get a 6-pack. Kind of crazy, but I'm like, all right, how will I feel when I do this? Well, I'm going to feel freaking great. What happens if I don't? I'm going to feel terrible. Well, how do I get help on this? I should hire a trainer and a nutritionist. All of a sudden, you start thinking more contextually about your goals, and you keep checking in on them. And you keep course correcting, and that's super powerful. Are you guys getting this? Isn't that awesome? So when you do these things, the problems that we talked about, they don't seem so bad now, do they? I talked about these 3 problems. I'm like, man, everything's crazy. It's changing constantly. I feel like reacting is the only way to survive. I feel like I have so many obligations. I don't know. I'm like putting out fires. I don't know how I'm ever going to have the time. Like goals, like I'm just trying to fight to survive. But all of a sudden, if you think about these 3 strategies, it doesn't seem so hard, does it? So what I promised you on this call today was I was going to give you my 3 simple strategies to actually live a proactive life. And the thing is, when you do each of these, you don't have to do all of them at once. When you do one at a time, they compound. You start doing Unstoppable Sundays every Sunday. You start to feel better and more proactive. Then you do a 45-day challenge. You're going to come out of that. You're going to feel even better. You're going to have more momentum. You're going to have crushed one goal. You'll be able to get more done. And you're going to say, all right, how do I do even more? And then from there, you actually create your 365-day goals and you keep revisiting them and tweaking them. You do it in the right way. And all of a sudden, you're living a much more proactive life. All of a sudden, those excuses feel like exactly that. They're excuses. And all of a sudden, year by year, month by month, week by week, little by little, you become what I call is the best version of you. And that's the power of this. Are you guys getting this? Isn't this awesome? So those are my 3 strategies. That's what I want to cover with you today. This is the 3 things that you absolutely just need to do. Do a weekly planning practice. Try a 45-day challenge. And also write down your 365-day goals in a very specific way, right? Feel free to take a snapshot of this. This is an example of a template I have inside of my program where I write down my goals in a very specific way. And when I do that, instead of just saying, I want to be X, it's like, well, I want to be X. Here's how I'm going to feel when I do this. Here's how I'm going to feel if I don't do it. And here's how I get help, right? All of a sudden, it becomes a lot more real and a lot more powerful. And these excuses start to go away. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I'm super pumped for you. I'm super pumped to be serving you in this year. And I'm excited to see the change you bring into your life. Now, we're going to resume our normal programming around building, scaling SaaS businesses on this YouTube channel starting Wednesday. Wednesday, we have another live. And then Thursday, we have a brand new video. And then we're going to go get right back to it. But I wanted to start off with this base layer of you got to get your mindset right in this coming year. I can give you all the strategies. I can give you all the things. But if you don't get your mindset right, it won't matter. This is what's super important. And that's why I wanted to share this with you. Now, I have a question for you because I do have a coaching program that helps you do all these things. What would it take for you to actually do this? Right? I gave you my 3 strategies. You probably took some notes. All of you guys are still here. What would it take for you guys to actually implement this? Right? That's a question. So let me ask you some more questions here. Number 1, you learned a ton of stuff on why this stuff works. If you committed to leading a proactive life, if you literally just said right now, you know what, TK, I'm going to lead a much more proactive life. What would it look like? What would your life and business and startup look like in say 45 days after you've checked in every Sunday, after you've done a 45-day challenge on one big goal. So you just really move it forward and kind of deprioritize some other things. What would that look like? How about by the end of this year? Like if you just did this for a year, check in every week, 45-day challenges, have clear goals with context around them. What would your life look like? What would your business look like? What would you have accomplished? Right? Serious question to ask yourself and imagine. How about in 3 years? If you did 3 years of this, and this is not complicated stuff. This is relatively simple. Now there's some details to implement, but it's not like I'm telling you to go to the gym every day, right? How about in 3 years? If you did this for 3 years, what would happen? How about 5? If you did this for 5 years, I showed you my own journey of 10 years of doing this, what that did for me. What would it do for you, right? So what areas of your life would you dramatically change the trajectory of if you did this? Like literally, what would happen? And how would this impact how you feel about yourself? Seriously, like, can you imagine how you would feel after a couple of 45-day challenges, after you've like checked in every week, when you are clear on your goals, you have clarity, as you've started getting momentum, how will you feel? And how would this impact your relationship with your loved ones? Like at the end of the day, this is why we do any of this. We don't just build businesses for ourselves. We did do it for our tribe, our family, to get fulfillment, right? And what would this mean for your life and career if you do this? That's what I wanted to ask, especially in this very moment, as you're looking ahead about the next 365 days and what you're going to do, right? And there's some things that are working against you sometimes. This is what I found as I was going through my own journey of adopting these things. How do you properly plan your week, right? Like, do you do it on a Sunday or a Monday? What's the right process? How do you get the support of your loved ones and your team as you work to focus on specific goals? If you're doing a 45-day challenge, how do you get their support? How do you create an action plan? If you're going to commit 45 days to a goal, you better have an action plan. How do you create the right kind of action plan so you're set up for success? How will you keep yourself accountable so you actually do this for a year, right? So that you can get these results. I have no doubt that you're committed to getting the results, but how do you actually stick to the discipline of it, right? And so this is why I created a very simple program so that you get some help around this if you are really committed to this. So if you had help around a proven way to plan your week every week, I call it Unstoppable Sunday, where you'll get energized, pumped, and effortlessly plan your week. If you had a step-by-step guided process to create your 365-day goals, and also if you had a proven method you can follow to execute on that plan with what I call 45-day beast mode challenge. If you had like actual training on, like if I taught you on how to do these the right way, I've probably done about 100 of these in the last 10 years. What if you had all of these things? Would that help you actually accomplish this a lot more, implement the system? So this is why I have my Unstoppable Life Accelerator. So I run a SaaS go-to-market program. We have a SaaS launch program that's all for scaling SaaS businesses. I also have this one because I realize a lot of founders just need their mindset to be solid. And so that's why I created this. So I have my Unstoppable Life Accelerator. It gives you the weekly planning process that I follow every Sunday. We have a monthly group Zoom call to help you actually get energized and stay on track. We have a life planning workbook. We give you the templates for your 365-day plan and 5-year vision. We give you a special Unstoppable calendar to plan out your whole year. And we teach you how to do these 45-day challenges. So it's literally nearly $10,000 worth of value because I've spent the time to figure all this out for you. There's some bonuses that you get also. You get access to our Unstoppable Sunday Notes application. You get access to curated and early access to our content, that we do some special events and content. And you also get access to our Unstoppable community of other like-minded people. Now, here's the thing. This is not my moneymaker. Like, I threw this in here because I knew some people wanted to actually commit to this, and we wanted to give you as many resources as possible. So I set a goal this year. This year, I want to help 10,000 people live more proactive lives. That's just one of the goals that I have for the year. I wrote it down. It's important to me. And I asked myself, what would we need to do to positively impact 10,000 people, right? And so I'm not going to charge you $10,000 for it, even though that's how much value you get with everything we've packed in here. But I'm going to give you access to the Unstoppable Life Accelerator for just $99. $99, you get access to the weekly planning. You get the monthly group Zoom calls. You get the life planning workbook. You get the life planning worksheets. You get the 365-day calendar. You get training on how to do 45-day beast mode challenges, all 3 strategies. You get access to our web app that teaches you, that helps you plan every week. It's got this guided training. It's really cool. It sends you text messages through the week to make sure you stay on top of things. And you get access to our curated and early access to content. You also get access to our private community. all of it is included. It's just $99. We wanted to make it where it's like dead simple, easy to get started on. All you need to do is go to getunstoppable.com/go, and you can sign up right away and get access to everything right away. Super simple, super easy. And if there's any questions, just post them in here. Now, here's the thing. What I want you to ask yourself is, if all this did for you was get you to break out of your regular patterns, which is what really this is all about, right? How do I get you to like break out of your patterns? Well, pause and reflect every Sunday. How do I get you to break out of your patterns and stop reacting to stuff? Well, do a 45-day challenge. How do I get you to really raise your bar? Well, set some goals and write down how you're going to feel around them. If all this was just break you out of your regular patterns and feel determined on Monday, would this be worth it, right? You're probably gonna spend $99 on like dinner or something like that. Like, yeah, it's not a lot of money. Truly, when you start to think about the value it's gonna deliver for you in your life and your business and your mindset. And the other thing I remind people is, we only get a certain amount of time on earth, right? 79 years on average. What will it cost you if you don't try to become the best version of yourself? This is a new opportunity, 365 days, 365 new opportunities every single day. So what will it cost you if you don't make sure you have the right mindset, that proactive mindset, so you can go execute on the right things? And so, super simple. Just go to getunstoppable.com/go, and you can sign up for the program. We give you actual training on how to implement all these strategies. Get the templates, the training, everything's included. And you get to hang out with me every month. We kick off every month. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's super fun. So that's what I had for you today. My 3 strategies. Now you can go at it alone and start planning your week, do a 45-day challenge, and write down your 365-day goals, or you can join the program and get the cheat codes. It's completely up to you, and you will know best on how to do it. I want to thank you guys for joining. I'm incredibly excited for this year. I wanted to do this session because I wanted to make sure we have the right baseline set of ingredients to help set you up for success for all the incredible things we're going to be talking about around growing SaaS businesses, being an entrepreneur, being a founder. So I want to thank you guys for joining, and I will see you in the next episode. If you got value from this, be sure to smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. And also be sure to hit the subscribe button and that bell icon. We drop an episode 3 times a week on how to actually grow your SaaS business faster. And remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business, but when you are with us, yours is going to be unstoppable. I'm TK. I'll see you in the next episode.